Welcome class to your chapter 4 video. Chapter 4's title is Adding Images. The objectives we're going to cover are insert and align images using CSS, enhance an image and use alternate text, insert a background image and perform site maintenance, add graphic enhancements, use coding tools to view and edit rules. So as I step through this video, I'm going to talk about some of the content that's in each lesson as well as step through the examples for Striped Umbrella. So let's look at page 4-4, and I just want to point out the different three primary graphic file formats that are used on web pages. That's GIF, that's JPEG, and that's PNG. So GIF, 256 colors, supports opacity or transparency. JPEG, 16.7 million colors, does not support transparency. PNG, about the same amount of colors as JPEG, and supports transparency. So what I've always said is PNG kind of captures the best of both GIF and JPEG. JPEG is what you're going to see most for your photographic type of images. On page 4-5 in figure 1, you will see the rules of inheritance for selectors. And so what we're going to see in our cascading style sheets once again is that global is defined at the top. So whatever we define there trickles down to tablet. If we redefine it in tablet in any way, that takes precedence. And then whatever is defined in tablet or global trickles down to desktop, and that's what that figure is pointing out there. You want to be careful when you're resizing images that you use Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, or something like Adobe Fireworks to resize your images. Yes, you can resize them as far as the size, the dimensions of them on a web page, but that doesn't adjust their overall file size. So always make sure that you take careful consideration when you resize your images. So that's pages 4-4 and 5. Let's step into Striped Umbrella on page 6. So first thing we're going to do is open up a data file. You want to navigate to your data files, and this is DW4_1. We're going to save this over the About Us page. As, About Us, yes, okay on the JavaScript error, and then no on update links. So you should get the same layout as you've been seeing currently for Striped Umbrella. The first instruction in number 3 talks about making this a header. So we'll make this a heading 1. And then we're going to go into what the chapter is talking about. We're going to insert images. So from our insert panel, we're going to click on image, and we're going to navigate to the data files to grab our image. So in this case it's Clubhouse, JPEG. Let's see here if I can get, let's do full size, it's already there. Okay, so this is currently our image within our web page, and you'll notice that we got one line that's kind of going in the middle. And we're going to mess around with that, and we're going to create some different alignment options. So we want to make sure that when we add an image to a page that we also add alternative text to it. So in this case, using the Properties Inspector, we're going to type in the phrase Clubhouse. Okay, so always make sure that when you add an image that you give it some alternate text, and that's for accessibility issues. Okay, to verify, very important that you verify that this image actually copied to your Assets folder. Just come to your Files panel, click on Assets, and make sure that it has been added there. If it's not there, go ahead and click on the Refresh button. If it still isn't there, then I want you to make sure that you have set your default images folder for this site by managing sites and then clicking on Edit and then coming to Advanced Settings and make sure this default images folder is set. Okay, so make sure you verify all of that. Okay, moving on to page 8, create a global class sector for images. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start floating our images. We're either going to float them to the left, text will wrap up against the right side, or we float them to the right and the text will wrap up on the left side. So we're going to be using our CSS Designers panel. So I'm going to pull that out of here. And make sure you got it in 2 columns. So make sure that when you're working through these directions that you're in the right media, so the right media query, so global, tablet, or desktop. So this one says SU styles and then global, and then it says add selector. So we'll type in image_float. Okay, and if I click on show set, I have no styles for it at this point. We want to come to the layout category, come down to find float, and we want to click on none. Now what I found in Creative Cloud 2017 is it's really hard to see which one I have selected. So just go with the fact that you have it set right. You can visit the CSS. This one I can kind of see. When I was using left, it was hard for me to see. So just make sure that you can even go to SU styles and you can actually see it. So if I come into the global section, right before my tablet comment, I should now have a new class called image float, and here it says float of none. Okay. A little bit about that on the top of page 9. The default value for the float property is none. The float property is used to force other page elements to display to the right or to the left of another page element. The none value means that no other page element will appear beside an image with the selector applied. The left value means an image styled with the selector will float to the left of other page elements. And the right means an image styled with the selector will float to the right of other page elements. Okay, so let's come back into here. I come back to all, come out of the code here. That works better. Okay, and so then I have my float property. So flipping to page 10, create a tablet size selector. So for global, we're saying we don't want any floating happening because we got a small screen size. Everything typically goes vertical in a global media. So this time we want to go to only screen and min width 481, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add image float. We're going to come to our layout category, and this time we're going to go to the left. So now if I find my tablet section here, which would be right, so here it says tablet layout. So right before the end of that media query, which is this curly brace, I now have an image float of left. Okay, so tablet is going to float all content to the right of an image, or floating that image to the left of the content. And since I'm not specifying anything for desktop, desktop is going to inherit everything that I have specified for tablet in this case. Okay, so in summary, smartphones, no floating, tablets, and desktops, for anything that has a class of image float, is going to be floated to the left. Okay, moving on to page 12, it says apply this selector. So now I've created this class. It's called image_float, but I have not applied it to this image over here. So what I want to do is go about doing that. I do this through the properties inspector, where it says class, and I just find image float. So now if I go back and I minimize all of this, I will see that my text is now, or my image is floated to the left of the page elements. Okay, in this case text. Okay, so now that is in a 657 by 392 view. Let's go ahead and look at it on an iPhone, and there is no floating. Okay, so if I go to, let's see, 1280 by 800, I get scroll bars. So this is what it would look maybe like on a desktop. Okay, not the best yet, but we're going to refine things. So that's basically pages 12 and 13. Now you'll notice that I didn't click on a tablet size button or a desktop size button or a mobile size button. I had to use my screen sizes. Another thing you can do is use this button, and you can preview on device. Okay, it'll give you a QR code. You scan that into your device, and it'll take you out to an Adobe URL, and you'll be able to see it actually how it displays on your particular device. Every time you make a change, it'll refresh it on your device. Okay, so either way, you can go about testing that, but make sure that you test. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out something that would be more like maybe a tablet size. Maybe this one. Okay, no, too small. It's got to be greater than 481. I don't see anything. Now I could go ahead and I could edit size. You can do orientation landscape too. So if I click on edit sizes, I can actually add them in here. So let's do, was it min width 481? So if we do, I'm trying to think if I'm doing this right, 481, and we go 732. And we click on close. So do I have it in here? Click on edit sizes. It didn't save it. Did I not? Oh, is there a save button? Oh, there's an apply button. Well, that would make sense. And then close. Is it in my list? There it is. So now you can see that in a tablet, this is how it would behave. Okay, and desktop would probably be more like the 1280 by 800 or the 1024 by 768. So, and then here in the phone. Very important. That's called responsive design. Hey, and that's the area, that's the generation we live in. Lesson 2, enhance an image and use alternate text. So we're going to add borders, we're going to add some margins, and so we can push away this text a little bit from the edge of the image. So, for example here, so it's so close. So again, always make sure that you add alternate text. Did I do that? Yeah, I did. Okay, so make it meaningful, maybe some keywords in there for search engines to find. Talks about borders. So let's go ahead and on page 16 add that border. So it says SU styles global and then image float. So all global, find my image float. Uncheck the show set so that I get all categories. I'm going to come to border. I'm going to do all sides, width of thin, style of solid, and then the color, they want you to pick a dark gray. So we'll go with that one. Okay, now look, magically over here we have a border. Now if you have your image selected like that, it's kind of hard to see it. So click outside of your image so that you can actually see that border. Again, you can see it on the mobile side of things. Or sorry, the phone. You can still see the border. If I go to tablet, and if I go to desktop. Okay, why? Well, we defined it for image float, which is at the global level. That's the border. And it just floats down, cascades down into the tablet and into the desktop. Okay, the only thing that we redefined was how we floated it. Okay, adding horizontal and vertical space. So we're going to come back to global and come back to our image float. And we're going to use margins. So margins push away from the element. So we're going to click on the middle one here where it says, if we hover over it says click to change specific property. If I hover it says to click to change all properties. So when it's not clicked on, it's all properties. We're going to type in 10px here. Now notice it applies it right away, and we've pushed the content away from the border or the edge of the image. Okay, so that's how you can make things look a lot more professional. Now again, since we made these changes at the global level, they are inherited through tablet and desktop. Okay, on page 18 talks about editing image settings. So with my image selected, I'm in Properties Inspector, I now have some edit capabilities. Through Photoshop, I can click on Edit Image Settings, I can do some cropping and so on. We're going to click on Edit Image Settings, and we're going to change the preset to JPEG for photos, continuous tones. And then we have the options of changing, or actually what they wanted me to notice. Let me go ahead and click on Cancel here. And then we'll click on, want to notice that the file size is 23K. But when we change that preset, which should increase the quality of the image, it changes to 24K. Now you can mess around with the quality, you can mess around with the different formats here as well. Ping 32, more colors than ping 24 versus ping 8 as well. So if I were to go to GIF, I don't even know if I want to do this. I'm wondering if I'm going to lose my quality in my image. Yep, it'll actually have me save it. So if you do change your format, it's actually going to have you save it. So it would save it as that format and change the quality of the image. I'm going to go ahead and just back out of that. So again, we want to do JPEG for continuous tones, and I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. Edit alternate text. So we decided we need more in here, so we put in the striped umbrella clubhouse. Bottom of page 419 says displaying alternate text in a browser. There's a simple method you can use to force alternative text. So what this simply means is if I preview this in a browser, let's use I don't want to do Internet Explorer. Let's use Firefox. We'll save the changes. Yes. When I hover over this, in older versions, it would actually pop up that alternate text, the striped umbrella clubhouse. Well, the way you go about it is add a title to it. So if I go to my properties inspector, here's the title. So if I wanted to put in a little tooltip, for example, let's see, some of my edges here, the striped umbrella, I can't see everything. And I can't change that either, so I can't see what I'm typing. So I'm just going to put in clubhouse. Let's see what it does. File, save all, take it back here, reload it, hover over top, and there's the tooltip of clubhouse. So that's why you can force it, is by using the title attribute. Okay, lesson 3, insert a background image and perform site maintenance. Okay, so we're going to be working with background images. So I'm going to take you out to an external website with regards to this, but background images are simply what you see in figure 22. So that one actually uses a gradient, and that's kind of where I want to go with that external website. But before we go there, we're going to do page 4-22. So in the directions it says, number 1, select the modify on the menu bar. Well, there is no modify, so the alternate is file, and we go to page properties. So depending on what version you are in Creative Cloud depends on what you see here. Okay, so page properties, I would browse, and again go to the data files, and what image are we looking for? Water. Okay, so anything that we put in page properties is just for this page. So what you're going to notice is for the About Us page, we're going to have a style tag that's going to show up in our CSS Designers panel. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and I'm going to minimize this, and now we see style, and it says body, and if I click show set, we have water.jpg. So notice that the water.jpg image has now been inserted as the background of the page, but when I come over to another page within the website, such as index, I still have a white background. Okay, so page property is exactly what it's named, page properties, only for that page. So we learned in chapter 3 that we can apply something to a page and then move it. So the steps that are on page 23 actually have you go about doing that. So you take the body and you drag it up into SU styles, and then what you need to do from there is go to the CSS code, because when it drags it, it takes it and puts it at the bottom of the file, excuse me, and this is considered global, but it's not in the global section. So we cut it, we go right up before the tablet comment, find my tablet comment, and we paste it. Okay, now you can put it there, you can put it up higher in the global section too, however you want to order it. Okay, now back to the Designers panel, and no longer have any selectors in the page style, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that as an option, just like we did with headings inside of chapter 3. Okay, now when I go back to index, water is the background, and it should be applied to all of the pages. So let's go to activities. We don't have anything, maybe spa? There we go. So spa has that as well. Okay. Yep. And so that's page 24. Page 25, we're going to work with our background images. Okay, so I'm going to take you into the code of the style sheet for this one. Try to move some of these little panels out of the way. Okay, so again, the top portion right here till we hit that tablet comment is all considered global. Then we get into tablet, which is media only. Okay, I want you to notice that this is the closing curly brace for media. So you could even do this. Closes media query. I got to put in the right comment format. Closes media query for tablet, if you want to do that. Okay, and I can do the same thing at the bottom. Closes media query for desktop. Make sure you don't remove these media query closings because they can cause great havoc to your layout. Okay, so when I look at global, and I can do this through either the code here, or I can do it through the CSS Designer. I'm going to take you through code and then I'll take you into CSS Designer. So in code view, I'm looking for header underscore div. So here it is. So for mobile devices, I hover over this, and here is the image that I'm going to be using for mobile devices. When I get down in the tablet section, and I find, here's tablet, and I look for header div, I hover over this, this is the banner. Now there's nothing defined in desktop, and I can go down and look, there's nothing for header div here, it's actually empty. So again, whatever is defined up further inherits down. Okay. So when I look at SPA, for example, let me go ahead and go to design view. When I look at SPA in a mobile view, I have that other logo. But when I take it to a desktop or a tablet view, I've got my other banner. So you're going to want to be working with this with Coffee Shop. You're going to have two different types of banners that you're going to be using based on what we're working with. Okay, now before I move on to lesson 4, I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to mention background-size, which is in your course shell under the announcement section. It says, or maybe it's not showing up yet. Let me pull it up here. It'll show up, I think. I have it scheduled for tomorrow, I think. Yep, tomorrow to show up. So let me go ahead and just open it up here. And I'll email this out. If you need help in sizing your banner for tablet and desktop views, this is an excellent addition. Add to tablet header div in cs_styles background-size, and you can actually give the full dimensions of what you need for that size. And that's a 980 is the width of our layout. This you can play around with a little bit. And then you can actually go to this URL and you can mess around with background-size. Let's talk about W3 Schools a little bit. W3 Schools is really cool. So W3 Schools, and I want to work with gradients. So let's just say background, and then let's say gradient. Takes me here. And so I can work with gradient, and the reason I pull this up is because you might want to do a gradient background color for your coffee shop website. And so this is a way you can play around with it. It tells you the browser's support of these different properties, tells you how to bring it in, and then it says try it yourself. So you click on try it yourself, and you can actually type over here, enter in some colors, and you can actually see how it would change over here. So in their case, on page 4-21, theirs kind of looks more not like a linear gradient, but almost like a radial gradient that's coming from the right and going down this way. So in that case, you would want to come back here and look for, here's a diagonal one, okay? And so you can play around with that, and then there's even angles. So lots of things that you can explore with regards to creating a gradient color, background color for your coffee shop website. If you need any help with that, I'm absolutely open to helping you with that. So background-size, use for your banner, okay? And you can play around with these gradients if you so choose to for your coffee shop website. add graphic enhancements, favicons. So in this one we're going to add a favicon, which happens to be a little icon up here in the tab. And so they give the example in figure 31 of ED, and they just use that ED up in the tab section. So it just creates a little bit more professionalism for a website. And so to do that, we're going to let me actually do page 29, and then I'm going to jump back to page 28 since I'm talking about favicons. So we're in the About Us page for these two pages. And so I want to be in the source code of my page here, and I want to be close to the title tag. And so does it say before or after? I want to follow the directions exact. Insert the code directly above the title tag. So I'm going to type in link, relationship, shortcut icon, hypertext reference. Oh, I forgot to copy it. Well, that's a good lesson. Okay, type equals image / X icon. And then we'll end it like this. Okay, so in order for you to have this appear as a favicon in your tab, you need to make sure that you copy this image over to your root folder. So let me go ahead and do that. Documents is where my data files are at anyway. So there's the starfish. I copy that, put it into striped umbrella. Not in assets. Do not put it in your assets folder. Put it right in your root folder. Paste it. Now, let's go back, and so now we have it. Go to Files panel. I'm going to refresh my view, and there is starfish. Okay, so got my code typed in, got my file copied over. Now let's do a file save all. Let's view it in Firefox, and it's not there. So last night I was working on this, and I was like, why isn't it working? I'm looking at my code's working. I know my code should be working. Well, this is what happens in 2017. This is called real-time preview. Okay, so real-time preview. So in order to test this, you need to use your browser file open. Okay, so in here I'm going to hit my Alt key, file open, or just Control O, and I'm going to navigate to striped umbrella. I keep striped umbrella, and I'm going to open up, what am I working on? About Us. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so the real-time preview does not work with testing out these favicons, so you need to physically open it or publish it to the server and then go from there. Okay, so let's jump back to page 28. So this is where we insert a thumbnail image of our map, and we're on the About Us page. So we're at the end here. We're going to insert another image coming from the Insert panel. Image, Documents, again, just navigating to my data files. Map small, that's my thumbnail. Give it some alternate text, right? So the alternate text is select. Nope, that's the text that we're going to type in. The alternate text is map to the striped umbrella. Okay, and if I wanted to, put that right there in title. For some reason now title is showing up fully where I can actually see everything. Go figure. And so that is inserting the image. Let's go ahead and see if this image is inserted there. Okay, and then we want to link it to a bigger version. So we got a thumbnail. We're going to link it to a larger version of that image. So we're going to browse, find my image again. And we got map large, click OK. So now when they click on this image, it will open up the larger version of it. They hover over it, they should see this. And again, I just added this in. It's not in the directions, but since I talked about it, we'll continue to use it. So it says place the insertion point after the last paragraph, insert a paragraph break. Okay, so here, and then we type in select the map below to view a larger image. So let's do a save all. Do I still have it open here? Yep, I can go ahead and refresh. Or no, yep, that's About Us page. So there it is, select the map below to view a larger image. I hover over it, it says map to the striped umbrella, click on it, got a bigger image. Okay, that might be something that you employ in your coffee shop website. Maybe you have a smaller map and it links to a larger map. So just an idea, throwing it out there. Okay, striped umbrella is done. Okay, so let's talk about the assignments page. So we have a class discussion for chapter 4, so make sure you don't forget to do the class discussion. So here's some alternate directions for striped umbrella. Skills review, blooms and bulbs, a little bit of alternate directions. Okay, so basically we're stepping through inserting a line in an image, grabbing a data file, stepping through, I think I got everything there. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create figure 37. Okay, you're going to have one image that's going to be floated to the left. You're going to have another image that's floated to the right. So here's what I need from you. In the global section, you define such styles. Okay, so SU styles global. I'm going to go ahead and look at my image float. Okay, I have the margins, I have the float, I have the border. Okay, that's what you need in your global definition of image float. Okay, for your tablet, all you're going to change is the float. Okay, because that we're still keeping the same borders, we're still keeping the same margins, but all we're doing is affecting the float. In this case, we're floating it to the left. Now, if you want, you can call this image float underscore left. The book is going to refer to this one as image float, and it's going to float it to the left. And then when we float things to the right, it's going to be image underscore float underscore right. So if I were to define this for blooms, I would, my global one for image float underscore right would have the same properties as this, exact same properties. Okay, and then when I define the tablet, the only property that is going to change for image float underscore right is that I'm going to float it to the right. So all default properties in global, redefine the ones that need to be changed in the tablet area. Okay. Make sure that you don't forget to add alternate text to these images. Make sure that when you insert the favicon that you copy it to the root folder, not into your assets folder, and make sure you test by doing a file open in your browser. Okay, so that is blooms. Okay, then we get into TripSmart. TripSmart, again, less directions but more applying. Okay, so you have to take what you've learned in the chapter, apply it to blooms, and then they take more directions away from you because they want you to apply it even more. Okay, so coming back to this whole discussion of image float. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a text file here. This is usually what I write on the board on campus. So image float, let's do global. Okay, this is going to have a float of none. And I'll try to set it up here CSSY. You're going to have your borders. Okay, you're going to have your margins. Okay, so that's global for image float and image float underscore right. Okay, same properties as image float. Okay, then we get into tablet. And this one is image float. The only thing that changes is float of left. Image, and this is not syntax correct, you guys. Don't type this. But this is just a general guidance here. Image float right, the only thing that's going to be set here is the float of right. Okay, so everything up in the global section, redefine what needs to be changed in the tablet section. Again, don't forget to add your alternate text to your image. Okay, those are the kind of things that I look for. Apply the heading 1 in number 3. Apply the heading 1 format to Destination Egypt. If your heading 1 is an Adobe Edge web font, you need to go and find that script tag in another web page and copy that into the head section. Okay, so if you I can't remember if it's like there's another page that has an Adobe Edge web font that's already there defined, then you need to go copy that script tag. Okay, let's talk about coffee shop. So coffee shop directions, page 439. So it says consult your wireframe, decide which page to create and develop for this chapter, plan and page the content, make a sketch of the layout. So at this point you have a home page that's in the layout of Striped Umbrella. Okay, and that's totally fine. Okay, so now you're going to develop another page. Okay, several images in a background color or image. Create a page using your sketch for guidance. Access the image you've gathered, place them on the page, add a background image if you want, or maybe a background gradient. Appropriate alternate text for each image. Create rules in your style sheet to position and format your image. So again, image float and image float right. Okay, and then it just continues on through the directions. So here it says, please add your banner for mobile, or no, I'm sorry. In addition, use pixabay.com. So let's go to pixabay.com. Okay, so I'm going to type in coffee images. Avoid anything that says Shutterstock on it, because typically it's not a public domain. It says sponsored images up here, so you have to pay for them. So you want to go down into this section and you want to just look for images that you may want to use for a banner, or maybe you want to use it within your page, you know, whatever it may be. Okay, so hey, it's Valentine's Day. So we can use this image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. You want to look for CCO, public domain. That means it's free for you to use and you don't have to source it. That's what attribution means. So I'm going to go ahead and click on free download. And here's where I have to make the decision. Am I doing this as my banner for my global, okay, for my smartphone, or am I using this for my banner for, say, my desktop or tablet layout? So I gave you the dimensions of like 980 by 140. So the medium here would work really well. Now I don't want you just to use this image. I want you to kind of play around with Photoshop or Fireworks and add some text on it. I mean, if you need help with that, please let me know, and maybe I can actually play with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and download and type in the CAPTCHA. Hopefully I get it right. Is that a C or a G? We'll find out. Okay, so it allows me to download. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Save it on desktop, coffee shop. Boy, I have a hard time clicking today. Assets. Okay, and maybe I rename it. Make it more meaningful to me as to what it is. Coffee _ heart. Okay. So now I have an image. Okay. And I might think this would probably work pretty well for maybe a global, or maybe it's just inside my pages. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open up Fireworks, and I'm not sure, 100% sure, that Fireworks is part of Creative Cloud anymore, but if you need to, you use Photoshop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up that image. Oh, wrong place, coffee shop. Okay, so if I had this, I gotta resize this screen for you guys and get this all over in this view here. Okay, so I'm going to resize this to be like 50%. Now if I wanted to add text to it, let's just say I want to go with the color of white. And let's go fairly large in file or font size. I'm going to go text. I'm going to take it right here and I'm going to say Java Joe's, something like that. Okay. Whatever you come up with. I'm going to resize this to be larger than this. Okay. And I can mess around with any font properties down here as well. So I want you to personalize it. Okay. And this is probably not an image that I would even use for a banner. I'd probably use it within the actual web page content itself. But you kind of get the idea. So I put the dimensions on the page here. So about 250 by 250 in width for the global, okay, for a smartphone, 80 to 100 in height. Tablet desktop about 950 by 120 to 140 in height. Generally a medium or large for your banner. You probably want to go with small with regards to your smartphone. Okay, and then add your banner for mobile and tablet as your background images through CS_styles. So how do you go about that? So back in here, I'm going to use striped umbrella as an example. SU styles global, header div, change my image here. Okay. Tablet, so my banner, I always think of my banner as a longer in width and my other one as kind of a logo. So I'll find header div and I change it here. Okay, so that's the two spots that you will change it at. And again, there's that background size that you can work with. Make sure you complete, should you use HTML tables for web page layout. This is a class discussion, and as well as your chapters 3 and 4 test. If there's any questions on anything that we've covered, anything that you need me to debug, anything that you need to help me to help with regards to logos and banners, or just downloading images, ideas, gradients, anything that you want to run past me as an idea, I can help you refine that idea, help you make that idea actually come into play into your web page. Okay, so that's what I'm here for. Send me questions. I always ask that you upload if you have anything for me to debug, so get it up on the server so that I can download it and I can actually work with it live that way. Okay, any questions again, please let me know. Thank you.